Good morning students. Up to the last lecture we are just talk about the valence electron. Okay, valence electron are what the electron which are present in the outermost shell of an atom. That electrons we call valence electrons. So actually we have to see topic that is the valency. Okay, so this valence electrons and valency are have somewhat relation. Okay, these valence electrons are important to find out the valency of an element. So we see some example of noble gas. Okay, that is the helium, which having 2 electrons in outermost shell, that is in K shell. Okay, then neon, there are, we see neon, there are 10 electrons and their electron distribution are as like 2 and 8. Okay, 2 electrons are in K shell and 8 electrons are in L shell. Okay, so here its doublet is complete. Okay, and it is here in outermost shell, L shell. Maximum capacity of L shell is of 8 electrons. So here in outermost shell 8 electrons are there, so we can say that its octet is complete. Okay, octet is complete. So that is why what happened, these two elements does not react with any other element. Okay, generally if we see hydrogen, then we write hydrogen as like this, means what, 2 hydrogens are combined with each other, 2 hydrogen atoms, then this one molecule of hydrogen gas is formed. But if we if we see the helium, neon, argon, krypton, these noble gases, then always we like helium as like this, neon as like this. Okay, but hydrogen as like this, oxygen as like this. Okay, so such a way that it means that what happen here, this element does not react with any other element because their doublet or octet is completely filled. So one thing we have to remember, if doublet or octet of any element is a completely filled, then that any element does not react with other elements. Okay, that one thing we have to clearly understood. Okay, if we see example of NaCl, sodium chloride, that is the salt that we are using our kitchen. Okay, NaCl. If we see the Na and Cl, atomic structure of Na and Cl, we know Na has how many electrons? It has total 2, 8 and 1, that is the 11 electron in its outermost shell. Now chlorine, 2, 8, 7. Okay, so it has total 17 electron in its outermost, in total atom. Okay, but here in outermost shell of sodium 1 electron is there, and in case of chlorine 7 electrons are in outermost shell. Okay, so here doublet is not complete or octet is not complete. Okay, when sodium and chlorine complete their octet or doublet. Okay, so the case is when these two atoms are combined with each other, then one ionic bond is formed between them. Okay, and this electron goes towards this chlorine. So here remain 2, 8 and here 7 plus 1, 2, 8, 8. Okay, so 2, 8, 8. Then what happened now? Look at this sodium and this chlorine. 2, 8. Outermost shell 8 electron, outermost shell 8 electrons. Okay, so here octet is get complete now. Now this stable compound sodium chloride is formed. Otherwise these two are very harmful element. Okay, they are not good for us, but if they are combined with each other then one stable compound sodium chloride is formed. We can use it very easily. Okay, so such a way that basic funda of any chemical reaction is, look at this, what every element tries to complete its octet or doublet. What? Octet or doublet. Okay, if they are complete their octet or doublet, then what happen? They acquire minimum energy level or stable state. That is why every element tries to acquire octet, complete octet or doublet. So due to that, what happen? They will acquire minimum energy stable level. Okay, so that is why they react with other elements. Okay, so that is why compounds are formed. Compounds are formed. Why? Because due to the formation of compounds, what happen? Every element complete their doublet or octet and they gain stable energy, minimum energy level or stable state. Okay, so that thing we have to remember. So now, how the valency of any element we can find, that we have to see. Now look at this example, helium and neon. Helium has 2 electrons in its outermost shell, neon has 8 electrons are in outermost shell. So their outermost shells are completely filled. Okay, here we know K is the outermost shell and we know maximum capacity of K shell is of 2 electrons. So 2 electrons are there. So this K shell is completely filled. Now in case valency is 0, when the outermost shell is completely filled, then valency of such an element is how much? 0. Now in case of neon, what happened here? Neon, look at 2, 8. Again, outermost shell is what? L shell, and we know maximum capacity of L shell is how much? 8 electrons. So here 8 electrons are in outermost shell. So this outermost shell is also completely filled. Then its valency is 0. So look at that. All the noble gases, okay, in which what happened? Their octets are complete. Means their outermost shell 8 electrons are there. So that is why they acquire stable energy state, okay, or minimum energy state. Okay, so that is why their valency is 0. Okay, so look at, if outermost shell is completely filled, then their valency is how much? 0. That we have to remember. Now we have to think about the valency of other elements. Look at hydrogen H. We know in the hydrogen atom there are only 1 electron in the outermost shell. Look at, this is nucleus and suppose this is 1 electron. But now this is the first and that is the outermost shell of hydrogen atom. So look at, this is the K shell, okay, and we know maximum capacity of K shell is of 2 electrons. How much electrons? 2 electrons. But now here what happened? Only 1 electron is there. Okay, so look at, if we want to complete its outermost shell, valence shell, then how much electrons we require? 1. So 1 is a valency of hydrogen. Which? 1 is a valency of hydrogen. Look at what? Here only 1 electron in outermost shell. So we know maximum capacity of this K shell is how much? 2 electrons. Okay, so how much less electrons are there to complete outermost shell? 1 electron. So we can say that 1 is a valency of a hydrogen atom. Okay, so always we have to remember that. What? The how many electrons are less to complete this valence shell, that we have to consider. Okay, so that is why we study what is valence electrons. And now actually what is valency, that is means valence electrons and valency are two different concepts, but we need this valence electron to check valency of any element. Okay, so look at, we see another example. Okay, look at, we see there chlorine. Okay, we know in chlorine how many electrons are there? In chlorine 17 electrons are there. Okay, how they are arranged? Look at, we draw here atomic structure: K shell, L shell, N shell. Okay, now look at here, in first K only 2 electrons, here 8 electrons are there. Okay, so here total 8 electrons are, now 2 and 8 10. Now 7 electrons are present over here. Look at. Okay, so to complete its octet, look at, for the valency we need only valence shell, means outermost shell. Okay, so look at, in here in the outermost shell how many electrons are there? Only 7 electrons are there. So here to complete its octet, how many electrons we require now? Okay, so 8 minus 7, 1 electron we require. So the valency of chlorine is 1. Is how much? 1. Look at, why 1? Because to complete its outermost orbit we need 1 electron. To complete its octet we need 1 electron. So that is why its valency is how much? 1. Okay, so such a way that we have to find valencies of different elements. Okay, look at, we will see another one example of sodium. Okay, so look at sodium. We know in case of sodium there are how many electrons? Total 11 electrons in the sodium atom is there. Okay, so now how that 11 electrons are arranged? We know in first K shell there are only 2 electrons. Okay, now L shell, how many electrons are in L shell? We know total 8 electrons are in L shell. Look at here, how many electrons total? 8 electrons are in L shell. So 8 and 2 10, and in last only 1 electron is there, that is the 11th electrons. So now okay, so now here 2 8 1 is the electronic configuration of this sodium atom. So here in outermost shell only 1 electron is there. Okay, so complete its outermost shell we need how much electrons? Total 7 electrons. So it is not possible to take 7 electron from the other element. So what happened? This sodium do what? It gives away this 1 electron to other atom. Okay, what? We see that this 1 extra electrons is present in the outermost shell. So sodium do what? It gives 1 extra electron to other element when chemical reaction takes place. Then what happen? This electron is go there and the remaining structure is what? 2 8. 2 8. So this 1 extra electron is present in the outermost shell. Sodium has to give it away. Okay, so that is why again valency of sodium is how much? 1. Valency of sodium is how much? 1. So to find out valency of any element, one trick we have to remember. I will tell you now that tricks. Okay, so you have to remember only one thing. If what more than 4 electrons are in outermost orbit, then what happen? If more than 4 electrons are in outermost shell, then the electrons less to complete orbit is the valency of that element. Okay, look at what happen if any element have more than 4 electron in their outermost shell. Suppose example of chlorine we see. Okay, what happen in chlorine? Example, chlorine. In chlorine what happen? 2, 8, 7. Total 17 electrons are there. Okay, so in outermost shell how many electrons are there? 7, more than 4. Okay, then valency of such element is, how can we find? That is we have to find out how many electron required to complete its orbit. So we have to just use this formula 8 minus x. X means what? This valence electron of that particular element. Here x is how much? 7. X means what? Valence electron. So here 1 is a valency of this element. Okay, so such a way that we have to find out the valency of element if that element have more than 4 electrons in outermost orbit. Okay, so remember, if more than 4 electrons are present in outermost orbit, then we just have to see how many electron it require to complete its octet. If 5 electrons in an element which have such an atomic structure 2, 8, 5, okay, in that case what is the valency of this element? So simply what it has to complete its octet. Okay, now how many electrons in the outermost shell? Only 5. So in that case we have to just take 8 minus 5, which is the 3. So 3 is the valency of this element. If 6 electrons are in outermost shell, then 8 minus 6, 2 will be the valency of that particular element. So such a way that we just have to take this subtraction 8 minus outermost electron, so we will get the valency of element. But when it has more than 4 electron in outermost shell, means if 5, 6 and 7 electron in outermost shell, then we can use this rule. Okay, but now if any element have 1, 2, 3 electrons in outermost shell, at that time what happen? That we have to see now. Okay, so this rule you have to remember. If any element has more than 4 electron in outermost orbit, then the electron less to complete orbit is the valency of that element. So 6 electrons are in outermost orbit, then 8 minus 6, 2 electrons are still required to complete octet. That is why 2 is the valency of this element. For example, we take just, okay, you can find out such a valency of any element. Now we have to see what happens if 1, 2, 3 electrons are present in the outermost orbit. at that time how to find out their valency. Now, if any element have less than 4 electrons in outermost shell, that is 1, 2 or 3 electrons, 1, 2 or 3 electrons, then the number of electrons in outermost shell is the valency of that element, is the valency of that element. Look at here, what happens if 1, 2 or 3 electrons are present in the outermost shell, okay, then that number, if 1 electron is present, then 1 is valency. If 2 electron is present, then 2 electron is valency. If 3 electrons are present, then 3 is the valency of that element. Very simple. Look at example of sodium. 11 electrons are there. So the electronic configuration is 2, 8, 1. Okay. 2 present in K shell, 8 electrons in L shell, and 1 electron in M shell. Okay. So look at in outermost shell, how many electrons are there? Only 1. Means less than 4 electrons are present in the outermost shell. So that is why this number of electrons, whether it is 1, then 1 is valency, whether it is 2, then 2 is valency, whether it is 3, then 3 is valency. So in case of sodium, what happened? Only 1 electron is in the outermost shell. So valency of sodium is how much? 1. That also we have to remember. Okay, valency of sodium is how much? 1. Another one example we take, suppose 2, that is a magnesium, 2, 8, 2. Okay, so here look at what happened here. 2, 8, 2. Total how many electrons in magnesium? 12. 2 electrons in K shell, 8 electrons in L shell, and 2 electrons in M shell. So here in outermost shell there are only 2 electrons. Okay, but this 2 is a less than 4. Okay, this 2 is number less than 4, and we know rule, if any element have less than 4 electrons in outermost shell, then their valency is that number of outermost electron. So here 2 electrons are there, so that is why valency of magnesium is how much? 2. Okay, so such a way we have to remember what if we know 2 rules. Okay, this is one rule, and one rule we earlier studied. Okay, so there are, we see what if first, if electrons more than 4, then we have to use what? 8 minus outermost electrons. Outermost electrons. This formula we have to use. 8 minus outermost electrons. Okay, so we will get valency of that element. We see example of chlorine or chlorine. Example, chlorine, which having 17 electrons. Atomic electronic configuration is 287. Okay, so 7 electrons are in outermost shell. Number is more than 4. Then to calculate valency of a chlorine, what we have to do? We have to just take 8 minus outermost shell electrons. Outermost shell electrons. Okay, so 8 minus 7, so it will be 1. So valency of a chlorine is how much? 1. And second rule we are studying, that is, if electrons, outermost electrons less than 4, then if outermost electron less than 4, then that number of outermost electron is valency of that element. Okay, we have to just see the valence shell and how many electrons are there in valence shell. If more than 4 electrons are there, then just we have to take 8 minus valence electron. 8 minus the total electron in outermost shell. So in case of a chlorine, it will be 7. So 8 minus 7, answer is 1. So 1 is our valency. If the outermost electron less than 4, then what we have to do? Just observe. Look at sodium. Example. Total 11 electrons. Electronic configuration is 281. Look at here. In outermost shell, only 1 electron is there, and which is less than 4. That is why valency is how much? 1. Okay, so you have to remember just these 2 rules simply to find out valency of any element. Okay, so we can easily find out valency by using these 2 rules. Okay, tomorrow we will see one chart. In that again we will see valency of element, but you have to remember these 2 rules which are important. Okay, so remaining part we will see in tomorrow's lecture. Thank you.